Hello there, my name is Marcus and welcome to Tabletop Reviews. Today I'm having a look at Rebel Princess, a trick-taking game from 2023, which got a deluxe version in 24, and I believe in 26 it's going to get a sequel, Rebel Princess 2. I don't know if that's an expansion or a standalone sequel game. But anyways, I got this on the recommendation that it was one of the best trick-takers out there. See if that's true. Get to the table and see the setup and how it's played. Okay, let's open up the box and see the setup here. Can I get paper out as well? Okay, so we have a whole bunch of cards here. So first of all, here is a large pile of colored cards. I'm just going to remove these ones here and make it for a 3-player game, because that's what the last thing we played. But we will shuffle these up, and these cards will be split into equally sized piles here. In this instance, as I said, I'm making a 3-player game, so therefore I'm splitting them into 3 piles. How did I manage to fuck that up? It's because there's a 2 over here that doesn't need to be there. So whatever, you get the gist of it. And this pile here is split into 2. So you have these, which are all round golds. And what they recommend is that you simply take the first 5 here and use those in your first game. So sort of be somewhere in the middle of the table. And once the game starts, you'll flip them over. And other games, you can choose them for yourself, or you can draw up 5 random ones. Same with the princesses here. Each player will get a princess who has some sort of a ability. And again, you can choose one, or you can shuffle them up and distribute them randomly. It is recommended for the first game that you do play without them. They have powers that detail when and how they are activated. Usually it's sort of like in your turn when something happens. But anyways, you will flip this card over and use that out for every turn, which determines how many cards you trade and which direction. This is 3 cards to the right. So you look at your hand and you choose out 3 cards to pass to the right, and then each of them might have an ability. Now the issue with these abilities is they don't say on the cards, so you have to look it up in the back of the rulebook here. There's a complete list of the abilities. And as a rule for the round, but the play is pretty simple. Whoever is the starting player at the start of the game is determined either by the one who chose the princess first or by whoever was last at a wedding. But they have a handed card and they choose a card from that hand. Let's say it's this yellow 9. Now each other player will look at their hand, and if they have yellows, let me just quickly get this in. So this person has 3 yellows in the second one. They have to play one of these 3. And a 10 would obviously be higher than a 9. Maybe you would want to risk that, or you have a 5 and a 3. Let's say they play the 10 here. And then the last person will look at their hand. And in this instance they do have yellows, but let us pretend they do not, for whatever reason. If they, in this scenario that I have created here, do not have any yellows, you can play whatever card you want to, but you're not going to win the trick. That's a general rule for trick taking there. So, and a good idea is to get rid of the prince cards, the cards that have this symbol at the bottom, because these symbols, you don't want those. Whoever has had the least of these symbols at the end of the game wins. And in this situation, this person is lucky. They had the frog with 5 symbols on it, getting rid of that one. Then you would look, and the played out color was yellow, and therefore the highest yellow wins, so that's the 10. That would, so whoever the player who played the 10 will take the trick, put it over to their pile, wherever that is, and they would now start by playing out a card. You cannot start with playing out princes before they have been played in the other way. So if someone pulls out with the prince, you can then play princess as the starting card, but you can't do that at the beginning. And this, of course, now is given the information that this player here does not have any yellows for the others to consider. When the game is over, you count up how many of these symbols you have, and you note them down at the first one. Then you shuffle all the cards again, flip over the next card, do whatever that says, And you do this for 5 rounds, and at the end whoever has the least princess is the winner. And that's how you play the game. And there we go, that's the setup and gameplay of Rebel Princess. Let's talk about it real quick. I mean, the setup is obviously easy peasy. You have deck of cards that needs to be shuffled. Sometimes you need to remove some cards depending on player count. Then you just have... What I think is interesting is they say that you can select the round gold cards, round rules cards, and you can select the princesses if someone wants a princess really badly, or you can just shuffle them up and distribute them. I think it's very interesting to say, you know, you can make it the choice rather than making it random. It at least like, makes it very easy to go through the princesses and try them all, when it's like, oh, do it on purpose. And also the round rules, of course. There's definitely some round rules that I think work better than others. There's some that definitely, I mean, the one where it's one of the first starter ones, where you just put the card down, and then that's the last card played in the game, in the round. I think that is a brilliant little rule to have. Whilst there's the one where they give minuses, like the -3 on also the simple setup. I don't like those too much. The minus ones I'm not too crazy about. And the princesses, their powers, I think they're a bit meh. I mean, for a lot of times we just don't play without the princesses. I don't really need those. But they're neat to have, and some of them are better than others, of course. But for the most part, we don't really use those. The rest of the game, besides those 2 elements, is just a trick-taking game, a very simple trick-taking game. And I love trick-taking. So, yeah, definitely a great thing to add into it. I would just... For someone saying this is the best trick taker out there, it is the simplest trick taker I can think of currently, of the ones that are in my rotation, where the rules that it adds, yeah, I mean, there's the princesses and the round rules that are neat additions to it, but for the best I would want more, so maybe my expectation was a little bit up here, and it reaches not quite up there. But there isn't really more to talk about in setup or gameplay. There's very little to that aspect, which is not necessarily a bad part. Bad thing. About the components, I mean, it is only cards, and those cards are in a good quality, and I think they're in a good size, fit neatly into your hand. I think they're quite easy to read. There is some symbolism on there for my colorblind mate. He could use that to recognize the colors, and other than that, I think the colors and the numbers and stuff are very easily recognizable on here. And the same with the princesses and the round rules. They are very easy to read and interpret. I do hate the fact that for the round rules you always have to check the rule book. If you can't remember what it does, it should say it on the card, definitely. But easy to read, and I think the artwork is very good, very neat. Very different from all the artwork you know from Disney, who has had most of these princesses, of course. So yeah, the theme, I think it's a very fun theme. This thing of you are princesses and you don't want to interact with a princess, you don't want a marriage, you just want to have fun at this party. But it's, as it is with most trick takers, it is a very non-existent existing theme within it. It's fun to say it at the start, we are princesses, but it doesn't really come into the theme in the gameplay, of course. But that's the downside of trick takers, you can say. They are not very thematic, but I think they're very stable and good gameplay wise. So, does it lie to you? It says here in the box, it takes 40 minutes. It's for 3 to 6 players and ages 8 and up. At the player count, I would say, like I do think for most trick takers, at 4 or 5 is probably where the golden spot is, but it definitely works at 3 to 6 all the way through. But 4 or 5 is where I find trick takers to be spot on. But it works great throughout them all. I would say 40 minutes, that sounds a little bit long. I feel like the times we've played it was 25-30 minutes. It goes through very quickly, especially when you know the rules. And we really go through, even if you play just 5 rounds, it's fairly quick to go through. And the age 8 and up, I mean, if you are a child like me who has grown up with these types of games, played at family gatherings and stuff, it's very easy to jump into. So that could absolutely be correct. But I definitely also know that my mate who has almost never played trick takers, he's always taking a little bit aback when it's about trick taking games. But he's open to play them. So be aware of that. But if you are in my seat and have played trick taking games, so to speak, since you could play games, it's very easy to understand. So the final score I'm coming into this one is going to be an 8 out of 10, which is not the highest I've rated a trick taking game. And as I say, it takes trick taking with a very lovely mechanic and takes it as it is bare bones and adds just a few little things to make it better. It's a very fun game and I will play it a lot. But looking at some of the trick takers I've played otherwise, I say, you know, it doesn't do enough. Almost. But 8 out of 10, still a really good score. Am I keeping it? Absolutely. Well, at least until I win the game. I have yet to do that. But when I do that, maybe I'll sell it. Probably not. It's a very fun game. And it's staying in my collection. Neat little box as well. It'll be interesting to see this Rebel Princess 2 that's coming out, to see, you know, does it change anything or is it just more princesses? Because if it's just more princesses, then I might not be as interested in it as if it was some actual addition to the game of Rebel Princess. But that's the game, and that's another video done. Probably pretty quick. When there isn't much to talk about in gameplay wise, we go through it quite quickly. Next week, probably gonna be a bigger video. I'm thinking about doing the T-Witches review next time. That's a big game. But until then, thank you for watching. Bye!